The wind did not whisper that evening, it warned. Dust rolled low across the dry land like something alive, creeping over stone and bone, brushing against the roots of an old twisted tree where a man stood bound. The sky burned in deep orange and fading gold, and the silence between each gust felt heavier than the last. Anyone who knew the desert knew this kind of quiet. It came before something changed forever. "They are close," the Apache said, his voice calm but sharp as flint. His dark eyes were not on the ropes that held him, nor on the woman kneeling before him, but on the horizon. "The wolves are circling." She followed his gaze, though she saw nothing but empty land stretching into shadows. Her hands trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. She was not weak. Life had not allowed her that luxury. Yet something about him, about the way he spoke, made her feel as though she stood on the edge of a truth she did not yet understand. "You expect me to believe that?" she asked, her tone steady but low. "I have seen wolves. They do not hunt in silence like ghosts." A faint smile touched his lips, not mocking but knowing. "These do." The rope around his chest was tight, cutting against sun-browned skin marked with faint lines of old battles and older stories. He did not struggle. He had not struggled since the moment they tied him there. That alone had unsettled her more than anything else. Her name was Alira Vance, and she had spent years learning how to read men. Ranch hands, traders, drifters, outlaws. Every man showed fear when captured. Every man showed anger. This one showed neither. "You could be lying," she said, though the words felt weak even as she spoke them. "If I were lying," he replied, "I would beg you to let me go." The wind picked up again, stronger this time. Somewhere in the distance, a sound rose. Not loud, not clear, but enough to stir something deep in her chest. A howl. Her breath caught, and she turned sharply toward the sound. It echoed across the land, followed by another and then another, until the desert itself seemed to hum with it. "They are not just wolves," he said quietly. "They are hunger. And they have found us." Alira swallowed hard. She looked back at him, really looked this time. His long black hair moved with the wind, his face steady, his posture unbroken despite the ropes. There was something powerful about him, something that did not belong to fear or to submission. "Why are you not afraid?" he asked. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, the world seemed to fall away. "Because I know what I am," he said. "And I know what is coming." Another howl, closer now. Her heart pounded. She had seen death before. She had buried people she loved. This felt different. This felt like standing in the path of something that could not be stopped. "You said they are circling," she said quickly, "and we need to leave." "We cannot outrun them," he replied. "Then we fight." "With what?" he asked, glancing at the empty land around them. "Our courage will not stop teeth." The words stung, but they were true. For a moment neither of them spoke. The wind carried the scent of dust and something else now, something wild. Alira's mind raced. She had captured him for a reason. The bounty on his head was enough to change her life, to free her from the debts that had chained her for years. But what good was money if she did not live to spend it? She looked at the ropes again, then at him. "If I let you go," she said slowly, "you will run." "No," he said. "You expect me to trust that?" "I expect nothing," he replied. "But I give you my word." She let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. His word. Out here, that was supposed to mean something. But trust had never come easy to her. Another howl, even closer. Her decision came fast after that. Her fingers moved to the knot, rough and tight from hours in the sun. It took effort, and her hands shook more than she wanted them to. But finally, the rope loosened. He did not move at first. "You're free," she said, stepping back. Slowly, he pulled the rope away and let it fall to the ground. He rolled his shoulders once, as if testing the return of his strength, then looked at her. "You should not have done that," he said. A flicker of doubt cut through her. "Why?" "Because now," he said, his voice softer, "your fate is tied to mine." Before she could respond, the first wolf appeared on the ridge. It stood still, its eyes glowing faintly in the dying light. Then another appeared, and another, until the ridge was lined with shadows that breathed and watched. Alira's chest tightened, You said we could not outrun them. We cannot, he said again. Then what do we do? For the first time, he stepped closer to her, not as a captive, not as a stranger, as something else entirely. We stand, he said, and we become something they fear. His hand reached for hers, and for a moment she hesitated. Then she took it. His grip was warm, steady, and stronger than she expected. Something passed between them in that touch, something she could not name but could not ignore. The wolves began to move. If this story is pulling you in, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share, because what comes next will test everything they believe in. The pack descended slowly, circling their movements careful and controlled. These were not ordinary beasts. They did not rush. They did not panic. They hunted with purpose. Lyra felt her fear rising, but alongside it, something else began to grow. A strange sense of calm. It came from him, from the way he stood, from the way his eyes tracked every movement without urgency. Stay close, he said. Right. She did. The first wolf lunged. It was fast, faster than anything she had ever seen. But he moved faster. His body turned, his arm pulling her just out of reach as his other hand struck with precise force. The wolf yelped and fell back, not dead, but wary now. Lyra stared at him.
What are you?
He did not answer right away. Instead, he stepped forward, placing himself between her and the pack. The wolves hesitated, their formation breaking slightly as they adjusted to him. Then he spoke not to her, but to them. His voice changed, deeper, carrying a tone that did not belong to human speech alone. And the wolves listened. They did not retreat, but they slowed. Their growls softened into something uncertain. Lyra's heart raced. She had made a choice. She had set him free. And now she was standing beside a man who could speak to the wild itself. You are not what they say, she whispered. He glanced back at her, and for the first time, there was something in his eyes she had not seen before. Not strength, not control, something closer to vulnerability. They say many things, he said. Most of them are lies. The wolves circled again, tighter this time, as if testing the edge of his power. Lyra stepped closer to him without thinking. If we survive this, she said, her voice softer now, you owe me the truth. A faint smile returned to his lips. If we survive this, he replied, you may not want it. Another wolf lunged, and the moment shattered into motion again. But this time, Lyra did not feel alone. Yes, somewhere between fear and survival, between choice and consequence, something had begun. Something neither of them could stop. And as the night closed in and the wolves pressed closer, she realized that setting him free had not just changed the moment. It had changed her destiny in ways she was only beginning to understand, and the most dangerous part was not the wolves. It was the man she had just chosen to trust. The second wolf came from the side, low and silent, its body cutting through the dust like a shadow with teeth. Lyra barely saw it until it was almost on her, but his grip tightened and pulled her back just in time. The animal's jaws snapped at empty air, close enough that she felt the rush of it against her skin. Do not look away, he said, his voice steady, almost commanding. Fear makes you slow. I am not afraid, she replied, though her breath came faster than she wanted. He gave her a brief look, one that saw through her words but did not challenge them. Good, he said. Then stand with me. The wolves shifted again, forming a wider circle now, testing, watching. Their eyes reflected the last light of the sky, small burning points in the growing dark. Lyra counted them without meaning to. 1, 3, 6, 10. More shapes moved behind the ridge, slipping into view one by one. This is no ordinary pack, she said under her breath. No, he answered. They were driven here. Driven by what? His silence told her more than words. Another wind swept through, colder this time. It carried a scent she did not recognize at first. Something sharp and distant, like rain that had not yet touched the ground. The Keza did not smell like that. Not here, not ever. Tell me your name, she said suddenly, her voice quieter now but firm. He did not answer at once. His eyes were still on the wolves, his body still ready. But after a moment he spoke. Adana. The name settled into the air between them, strong and unfamiliar. It felt like something rooted deep in the land itself. Lyra, she said, though he had not asked. I know, he replied. That made her glance at him again. How? You speak like someone who has been alone too long, he said. Your name carries in your voice. She frowned slightly, unsure what to make of that. But there was no time to question him further. The wolves moved again, closer now. One stepped forward, larger than the others, its fur darker, its gaze fixed on Tazan. Did not growl, simply watched. That one leads, Tazan said quietly. Then we take it down, Illyra answered, her hand instinctively reaching for the knife at her belt. His hand stopped her before she could draw it. No, no, she repeated, almost incredulous. You said we cannot outrun them. If we do not fight, we die. If we kill the leader, he said, the rest will not scatter. They will frenzy. And then we will not have a chance. She hesitated, her grip loosening slightly on the knife. Then what is your plan? She asked. He did not respond right away. Instead, he stepped forward, just one pace, placing himself fully between her and the pack. The wolves reacted instantly, their bodies tensing, their circle tightening again. Illyra felt something shift in the air, something she could not see, but could feel in her chest. It was like standing too close to a storm. Tazan, she said, a warning in her voice. Stay behind me, he said, not turning. The lead wolf took another step forward, its eyes locked on him. For a long moment, nothing happened. No attack, no retreat. Just a silent standoff between man and beast. Then Tazan spoke again in that strange tone, the one that did not belong to ordinary speech. The words were unfamiliar, shaped differently, carrying weight in a way Illyra could not understand. The wolves reacted, not with fear, not with submission, but with hesitation. The lead wolf tilted its head slightly, as if listening, as if considering. The others shifted uneasily, their formation breaking for just a moment. Illyra felt her heart pounding in her chest. What are you saying to them? She whispered, reminding them, he said softly. Of what? Of what they were before hunger. The answer sent a chill through her. Another sound rose in the distance then, not a howl this time, but something deeper, heavier. It rolled across the land like distant thunder, though the sky above remained clear except for the fading light. The wolves reacted instantly. Their attention broke from Tazan, their heads turning toward the source of the sound. Unease spread through the pack, visible in the way they shifted and paced. Illyra felt it too, that same unease crawling up her spine. That is not them, she said. No, Tazan replied, his voice lower now. That is what drives them. The ground seemed to hold its breath. For a moment the wolves were no longer the greatest danger. What is it? She asked. He did not answer. Instead, he turned to her fully for the first time since the wolves had surrounded them. His eyes were darker now, more intense, as if something inside him had awakened. Should not have come this far into this land, he said. I did not come for this, she shot back. I came for you. Then you came for more than you knew. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning she could not yet grasp. The lead wolf stepped back slightly, its confidence shaken now. The others followed its movement, their circle loosening. The balance had shifted, but not in a way that brought relief. Illyra exhaled slowly, her grip tightening again on her knife. If they are afraid, she said, we use that. We leave while we can. Tazan looked toward the horizon again, toward the source of that distant sound. His jaw tightened slightly. It will not let us go, he said. Who? He met her gaze again, and this time there was no hesitation in his answer. The ones who taught them to hunt like this. A cold weight settled in her chest. You mean there is something worse than a pack of wolves out here? She asked. Yes, the simple answer did not comfort her. Another low rumble echoed across the land, closer now. The wolves began to retreat, not running, but backing away. Their eyes still fixed on Tazan and Illyra, as if unwilling to turn their backs completely. One by one they faded into the dark, leaving the ridge empty once more. But the danger had not passed. Illyra stepped closer to Tazan, her voice lower now. You knew this would happen. I feared it, he corrected. And you still let me untie you? A faint shadow of a smile crossed his face. You chose that yourself. She exhaled sharply. Do not twist this. Could have warned me. Would you have listened? He asked. She did not answer because the truth was, she did not know. The desert around them felt different now. The silence was no longer empty. It was waiting. We need to move, she said. Yes, he agreed. But neither of them moved right away. For a moment they simply stood there, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him against the cooling air. The danger had shifted, changed shape, but it had not gone. "You said my fate is tied to yours," she said quietly. "What does that mean?" His gaze softened slightly, though the intensity did not leave it. "It means," he said, "that whatever is coming will not see you as separate from me. That is not an answer. It is the only one I can give you now." She studied his face, searching for something solid, something she could hold on to. But he was like the land itself, vast and difficult to read. "Then give me something else," she said. "Give me a reason to trust you." For a moment, he said nothing. Then he reached out, slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. His hand brushed against hers, not gripping this time, just touching. "You are still here," he said. "That is your reason." Her breath caught slightly at the contact, unexpected and steady at the same time. There was something in that touch again, something deeper than the moment, something that unsettled her in a way fear never had. Another distant sound broke the moment, sharper now, closer. Tazin's expression hardened. "They are coming," he said. Alira pulled her hand back, her senses snapping into focus again. "Then we do not stand here talking." "No," he agreed. "We run." This time there was no argument. They moved together, stepping away from the tree, from the place where everything had begun to change. The land stretched ahead of them, dark and uncertain, filled with paths she did not know, and dangers she could not yet see. But she did not hesitate. Because somewhere along the line, between the ropes and the wolves, between fear and choice, she had already crossed a line she could not go back from. And as they ran into the deepening night, the sound behind them growing louder with every step, Elira realized something that unsettled her more than anything else. She was no longer running from danger. She was running toward a destiny she did not understand. And at the center of it was Tachzon. The ground was uneven under their feet, dry cracks and loose stones catching at every step, but Alira did not slow. Tazan ran beside her with a steady rhythm, as if he knew the land even in the dark, as if every shadow already belonged to him. Behind them, the sound grew clearer, no longer distant, no longer uncertain. It moved with weight, with purpose, like something that did not need to rush, because it already knew it would catch them. "Do not follow the open path," Tazan said between breaths. "They will expect that." Alira nodded and shifted her direction slightly, cutting toward a narrow stretch where jagged rocks rose like broken teeth from the earth. The path there was harder, slower, but it offered cover. The wind curled through the stone, carrying less of their scent. "You have done this before," she said. "Yes, with them. It's worse." That answer did not bring comfort. They reached the rocks, slipping between the narrow gaps. Alira felt the rough edges scrape against her arm, but she did not stop. The desert had taught her long ago that pain meant nothing if you kept moving. Still, her mind raced, trying to piece together what he had said, what he had not said. "You said something drives the wolves," she said. "Something that taught them to hunt like this." "Yes. What is it?" Tazan slowed slightly, just enough to guide her around a sharp turn between the stones. "A force that does not belong to balance," he said. "Something that bends the wild instead of living within it." Alira frowned. "That sounds like a story told to scare children." It should. The way he said it made her glance at him again. There was no doubt in his voice. No hesitation. Another sound rolled across the land, closer now, deeper. It was not a howl. It was something heavier, almost like the earth itself shifting. Alira felt it in her chest. "That is not an animal." "No," Tazan said. "It is not." They pushed forward, the rocks beginning to thin as the land opened again into a wide stretch of desert. The sky had darkened fully now, the last light gone, leaving only the faint glow of stars above. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like a warning. Alira slowed just enough to catch her breath. "We cannot keep running without a direction," she said. "Where are we going?" "There is a place," Tazan replied. "Not far." "What kind of place? A place they hesitate to enter?" She let out a short breath. "You mean a place even worse than what is chasing us?" A faint hint of amusement touched his voice. "You learn quickly. That is how I stayed alive this long. They moved again. It's faster now, as if the idea of a destination gave them something to push toward. But the tension did not ease. If anything, it grew tighter, more focused. After a while, Illyra spoke again, her voice quieter. Why were you captured? The question hung in the air between them. Tazan did not answer immediately. His steps remained steady, his gaze forward. You are not just a man, she continued. I saw what you did back there. The way the wolves reacted, the way you spoke to them. They did not obey me, he said. They listened. Yes, that is not normal. No, he agreed. She waited, but he said nothing more. You owe me answers, she pressed. I'll let you go. I chose to trust you. You chose survival, he corrected. And you are a part of that now. That made him glance at her briefly, but long enough for her to see something shift in his expression. Not resistance, something more complicated. I was taken because I stood in the way, he said finally. Of what? Of those who do not want the balance to return. The words felt heavy, layered with meaning she could not fully grasp. Balance, she repeated. You keep saying that. What does it mean? It means the land breathes as it should, he said. Predator and prey, life and death, all moving in a way that does not destroy itself. And now something is breaking that. Illyra looked out across the dark desert, her mind trying to make sense of it. And you can stop it? I can try. And that is why there is a price on your head. Yes. She let out a quiet breath. I thought I was chasing a man. Turns out I was chasing a war. Tazan did not deny it. They ran in silence for a while after that, the weight of his words settling between them. The sounds behind them had not faded. If anything, they felt closer, more present, like a shadow stretching just beyond reach. Illyra's thoughts drifted, despite the danger. She had lived her life chasing survival, chasing coin, chasing a way out of the struggles that had defined her. She had never thought about balance, about forces that shape the land itself. And now, she was running beside someone who carried that weight like it was part of him. You could have left me, she said suddenly. Yes, but you did not. No. Why? He did not answer right away. The silence stretched, filled only by the sound of their footsteps and the distant rumble behind them. Finally, he spoke. Because you chose to stand, he said. Most would have run sooner. She frowned slightly. That does not sound like enough reason. It is enough for me. There was something in his tone that made her chest tighten slightly. Not fear this time. Something else. Something quieter, but just as strong. The land began to change again as they moved forward. The flat desert gave way to a shallow valley, where the ground dipped and the air felt cooler. Sparse trees appeared, their branches thin but reaching, casting long shadows under the starlight. Tazan slowed, raising a hand slightly. Lyra stopped with him, her senses sharpening. What is it? She asked. Listen. She did it first. She heard nothing but the wind. Then slowly another sound emerged. Not behind them this time. Ahead. Footsteps. Not animal. Human. Illyra's hand moved to her knife instantly. We are not alone. No, Tazan said quietly. A figure stepped into view between the trees, then another and another. They moved carefully, not rushing, but not hiding either. The faint light caught on metal, on the edges of weapons carried low, but ready. Illyra's jaw tightened. Your enemies? Yes. How many? Enough. The figures spread out slightly, forming a loose line that blocked the path forward. They were not like ordinary hunters or bandits. There was a purpose in their movement, a discipline that spoke of something more organized. One of them stepped forward, taller than the others, his presence commanding even in the dim light. So, he said, his voice carrying easily across the space, the desert delivers you to us after all. Tazan's expression did not change. You should not be here, Dargan. The name settled heavily. Dargan smiled faintly. And yet, here I am. Illyra glanced between them, her grip tightening on her knife. You know him, yes, Tazan said. Not well enough, Dargan added, or you would not have come this far. His gaze shifted to Illyra then, sharp and assessing. And who is this, Illyra? She said before Tazan could answer, her voice steady. And I am not part of whatever this is. Dargan's smile deepened slightly.
How?
You are standing beside him. That makes you part of it whether you understand it or not. That seems to be happening a lot tonight, she muttered. Tazan stepped slightly in front of her again, not blocking her, but placing himself between her and Dargan in a way that felt instinctive. You will not take her, he said. Dargan raised an eyebrow. Take her? No. She is not the prize. His gaze returned to Tazan. You are. The tension in the air tightened, sharper than before. Illyra felt it, the shift from being hunted to being surrounded. The danger had not lessened. It had only changed shape again. Behind them, the distant sound grew louder. Dargan heard it too. His expression flickered for just a moment. It seems you have brought more than yourself into this night. Tazan did not look back. You should leave. And miss this. Dargan shook his head slightly. No, I think we will stay. Illyra stepped closer to Tazan, her voice low. We cannot fight them and whatever is behind us, I know. Then what do we do? For a moment, he said nothing. Then quietly we choose which danger we face first. The answer did not ease her mind. The figures around them tightened their formation slightly, their weapons now clearly visible. The path forward was blocked. The path behind carried something unknown and growing closer with every second. Lyra's heart pounded, but her thoughts were sharp. This was the kind of moment that decided everything. And as she stood there, caught between two threats, she realized something that unsettled her more than anything else. No matter which way they turned, there was no easy escape. And for the first time, she wondered if setting Tazan free had not just changed her destiny. It had sealed it. The wind shifted again, colder now, carrying two dangers at once. In front of them stood Dargan and his men, steady and waiting. Behind them, the unseen force pressed closer, its presence heavy enough to make the ground feel tight beneath Illyra's feet. For a brief moment, everything held still, like the land itself was watching what choice would be made. Illyra did not lower her knife. Her eyes moved quickly, measuring distance, counting figures, searching for anything that could be used. The men ahead were calm, too calm, and that worried her more than open aggression. People who did not rush were people who believed they already had control. You are trapped, Dargan said, his voice even, almost patient. There is no need to make this harder than it must be. Tazan did not answer. His stance remained firm, but Illyra felt the tension in him, not fear, but focus, like a bow pulled tight and waiting. You speak as if you understand this land, Tazan said after a moment. But you only use it. Dargan's expression did not change. Understanding and control are not the same thing. They are not, Tazan agreed. That is why you will fail. A faint murmur passed through the men behind Dargan, but it was small, quickly silenced. Their discipline held. Illyra leaned slightly closer to Tazan, her voice low. We cannot stand here talking. I know, he said, and say something useful. His gaze flicked toward her for just a second, and in that brief glance she saw something unexpected. Not just calculation, not just readiness. There was concern there, quiet but real. When I move, he said softly, stay close. Do not break away, no matter what happens. That depends on what you are planning, she replied. It is the only way. Before she could argue, the sound behind them grew louder, closer than before. It rolled across the ground like a warning no one could ignore now. Dargan's attention shifted slightly, just enough to show that even he felt it. You have brought a storm with you, he said. Tazan's voice lowered. It was already coming. The men behind Dargan adjusted their stance, some glancing back despite themselves. The balance was changing again, not in anyone's favor. Illyra saw the moment, and it was small, almost invisible, but it was there. The crack in control. We move now, she whispered. Tazan did not hesitate. His hand found hers again, firm and sure, and then he stepped forward, not toward the open path, but at an angle, cutting between two of the men who were not fully prepared for the sudden shift. Illyra moved with him, her body reacting before her mind could catch up. One of the men reached out, trying to grab her, but she twisted away, her knife flashing just enough to force him back without slowing her pace. Stop them. Dargan's voice cut through the air, sharper now. The formation broke. That was all it took. Illyra and Tazan pushed through the gap, the line behind them collapsing into motion. Footsteps thundered, voices rose, but the moment of control was gone. Faster, Tazan said. They ran again, but this time the space was tighter, path less certain. The valley curved ahead, the thin trees growing closer together, their shadows deepening. Behind them the men followed, and behind them all, something else was coming. Illyra's lungs burned, but she did not slow. Her hand remained in his, and she realized she was holding on just as much as he was. It's not just for balance, it's for something else. You could have left me back there, she said between breaths. Yes, but you did not. No. Why? Even now, even with everything closing in, she needed to hear it. Tazan glanced at her, his expression softer for a fraction of a second. Because you are not meant to end like this. The words hit her harder than she expected. Before she could respond, the ground ahead dipped sharply, opening into a narrow passage between rising stone walls. It looked almost like a wound in the earth, dark and deep. That is the place, she asked. It is not, he said. But it is ours. They reached the entrance just as another sound tore through the night, louder than before, closer than anything yet. It was not a howl, not a voice, but something in between. Something that made Illyra's chest tighten with a fear she could not explain. She turned her head slightly, just enough to glance back. For a split second, she saw movement beyond the trees. Not clear, not defined, but large, shifting, wrong in a way that made her look away almost instantly. What is that? She asked, her voice lower now. Tazan did not slow. Shh, do not look at it. That is not an answer. It is the only one you need right now. They entered the narrow passage, the walls rising on either side, cutting off the open sky. The air inside felt different, cooler, stiller, like the place itself held its breath. The sounds behind them changed as well. The men slowed slightly, more cautious now, their footsteps echoing against the stone. Whatever confidence they had outside did not follow them fully inside.
Nice.
Keep moving, Tazan said. The passage twisted, turning just enough to break the line of sight behind them. Illyra felt a brief flicker of relief, but it did not last. The pressure remained heavy and constant. You said they hesitate to enter, she said. They are still following. They will, he replied. Until they understand. Understand what? That this place does not belong to them? The path opened slightly ahead, forming a small clearing surrounded by high stone walls. At the center stood a single tree, older than anything Illyra had seen in this land, its branches wide and strong, its roots deep in the earth. She slowed without meaning to, her gaze drawn to it. What is this place? She asked. Tazan released her hand slowly, stepping toward the tree. A place where the land still remembers itself. The words felt strange, but the air around her shifted again, calmer, steadier, like stepping into a different world hidden inside the same one. Behind them, the men entered the clearing, spreading out again, though more carefully now. Dargan stepped forward, his eyes moving over the tree, the walls, the ground beneath his feet. For the first time there was something like caution in his expression. So this is where you run, he said. This is where I stand, Tazan corrected. Illyra moved closer to him, her senses sharp. The space felt safer, but not safe enough, not with everything still closing in. You think this place will protect you? Dargan continued. But nothing protects you. From what is coming, another sound echoed through the passage behind them, closer now, filling the air with that same heavy presence. Even Dargan's men reacted this time, their discipline slipping for a brief moment as they glanced back. You should leave, Tazan said again, his voice stronger now. Dargan shook his head slowly. No, I think I will stay and see how this ends. Illyra stepped slightly in front of Tazan this time, her knife steady, her voice firm. Then you will regret it. Dargan's gaze shifted to her, studying her again, but this time with more interest. You speak as if you belong here. I belong wherever I decide to stand, she said. For a moment their eyes held, and something passed between them. A silent understanding that this was no longer just about capture or escape. This was something bigger. Behind them, the sound grew louder, filling the passage, pressing into the clearing like a storm about to break. Tazan stepped closer to the tree, placing his hand against its rough bark. His eyes closed for a brief moment, as if listening to something deeper than sound. Illyra watched him, her heart pounding, her mind racing. Everything had led to this moment. Every choice, every step. He said, "This place remembers," she said softly. "Then make it remember." His eyes opened again, and there was something different in them now. It's not just strength, not just control. Something deeper, something rooted. I will, he said. The air shifted again, stronger this time, like a breath being drawn in before a storm. The men tightened their grip on their weapons. Dargan's expression hardened. The presence behind them pressed closer, almost at the edge of the clearing now. Alira stepped beside Tazan, her shoulder nearly touching his. Whatever happens, she said quietly, we face it together. He looked at her, and for a moment everything else faded. Together, he repeated. Then the sound behind them broke into the clearing, and the night itself seemed to change. The sound that entered the clearing did not belong to any living creature Alira had ever known. It moved like a breath pulled through stone, heavy and deep, carrying a strange weight that made the air feel tighter. The shadows at the edge of the passage stretched and twisted, and for a moment even the wind seemed to stop. Alira's grip tightened on her knife, but she did not step back. She stood beside Tazan, close enough to feel the steady strength in him, and that alone kept her from breaking under the pressure of it. Dargan's men shifted uneasily, their confidence fading. One of them took a step back without realizing it. Another lowered his weapon just slightly. The control they carried into the valley had begun to crack. What have you brought here? Dargan said, his voice no longer calm, though he tried to keep it steady. Tazan did not turn. His hand remained on the old tree, his fingers pressing into its bark as if drawing something from it. I did not bring it, he said. You followed it. The shadow at the entrance deepened, then moved. Not like an animal stepping forward, but like darkness gathering shape. Alira forced herself to look, even when her instincts told her not to. It was not one thing. It shifted, almost like smoke given weight, its edges unclear, its presence wrong in a way that felt older than fear itself. One of Dargan's men lost his nerve completely and turned to run. He did not get far. The moment he crossed the edge of the clearing, the shadow surged forward, and he stumbled back, falling hard. His breath knocked from him. He scrambled away, shaken but alive. The message was clear enough. No one was leaving easily. This is not something you control, Dargan said, his voice sharper now. No, Tazan replied. It is something you awakened. The words settled heavily. Alira glanced at Dargan. For the first time she saw doubt there. Not fear, but something close. You have been chasing power you do not understand, Tazan continued, twisting the land, bending the wild. This is the cost. The shadow pulsed again, closer now, pressing at the edge of the clearing but not crossing it. The tree at the center seemed to stand stronger, its branches unmoving, its roots deep and steady. Alira felt it then, the difference. Inside the clearing the air held, outside it broke. This place is holding it back, she said quietly. Yes, Tazan answered. But not forever. No. Dargan stepped forward, his jaw tight. Then stop it, he demanded. You speak as if you can. Tazan finally turned, his eyes meeting Dargan's. I can restore what you broke, he said. But it will not serve you. I do not need it to serve me. Dargan replied. I need it to be gone. Then you should not have created it. The tension snapped tighter. Alira stepped closer to Tazan, her voice low. Tell me what to do. He looked at her, and in that moment, the chaos around them faded again. Stay with me, he said. No matter what you feel, no matter what you see. I am not leaving, she said. A faint warmth touched his expression, brief but real. I know, he turned back to the tree, placing both hands against it now. His eyes closed and his breathing slowed. The air around him shifted, subtle at first, then stronger, like something long buried beginning to wake. Alira felt it move through the ground beneath her feet, a steady pulse that spread outward from the tree. It was not forceful, it was not violent. It was something older, calmer, like the land remembering its own shape. The shadow reacted instantly, surged forward, pressing harder against the edge of the clearing, as if resisting what was rising. Dargan's men stepped back again, unable to hold their ground. Even Dargan himself hesitated now, his confidence slipping further. What is he doing? One of the men asked, his voice shaking. Ending this, Dargan said, though it sounded less certain than before. The pulse from the tree grew stronger, spreading through the clearing, pushing outward. Alira felt it in her chest, steadying her, grounding her. The fear that had gripped her began to loosen, replaced by something else, something stronger. Hope. The shadow lashed forward again, testing the edge, but this time it recoiled slightly, as if meeting resistance it did not expect. "It cannot cross," Elira said. "It can," Tazin replied softly, his eyes still closed. "It does not belong here." The difference mattered. Dargan looked between the shadow and Tazin, his mind working quickly. "If you can stop it," he said, "then do it now." "I am," Tazin answered. "But it is not enough," Dargan snapped. "It will be." The pulse grew again, stronger now, pushing beyond the clearing, reaching into the valley. The shadow twisted, its form breaking slightly at the edges, as if the space it occupied was being taken back. Elira watched, her breath held, her heart steady now. She did not understand everything, but she understood enough. This was not about force, it was about balance, just as Tazin had said. Dargan took another step back, then another. The realization had finally reached him. "This place is not yours," Tazan said without opening his eyes. "Leave, and you will live." For a moment, it seemed like Dargan might argue again, but the shadow surged once more, closer than before, and whatever certainty he had left broke. "Fall back," he ordered his men. They did not hesitate this time. One by one, they moved toward the passage, keeping their distance from the shadow, their earlier discipline replaced by urgency. Dargan lingered for just a moment longer, his gaze fixed on Tazin. "This is not finished," he said. "No," Tazin replied, "but it will be." Dargan turned then and followed his men, disappearing into the passage. Lyra let out a breath she had been holding, but the moment of relief was brief. The shadow remained, pressing, resisting. "It is still here," she said. "Yes," Tazan answered, "but it is weakening." The pulse from the tree spread further, stronger with each moment. The shadow began to thin, its edges breaking apart like smoke and wind. It resisted, pushing back, but it no longer held the same strength. Elira stepped closer to Tazin, placing her hand over his on the tree. "You are not doing this alone," she said. His eyes opened then, and he looked at her, surprised for a brief moment. Then something softened in him. "Together," he said again. The pulse surged. This time the shadow broke. Not with a violent force, but with a quiet release, like something finally letting go. It thinned, stretched, and then faded into the night, leaving the air lighter, clearer. The silence that followed was different, not empty, peaceful. Elira stood still, her hands still over his, her breath steady. Slowly, the tension left her body, replaced by a calm she had not felt in a long time. "It is over," she said. "For now," Tazin replied. She looked at him, searching his face. That sounded like it was not certain. "It is certain enough," he said. "The balance is returning. It will hold." She nodded slowly. That was enough for her. They stepped back from the tree together, the connection between them still there, stronger now, clearer. The valley felt different, live in a way it had not been before. Lyra looked around, then back at him. "So what happens now?" He met her gaze, and this time there was no distance in it, no guarded edge. "No," he said, "we choose what comes next." She smiled slightly, the first real smile since the night began. "That sounds new." "It is." She took a step closer to him, her voice softer now. "I spent my life chasing survival," she said, "running from one danger to the next, and now, I think I want something more than just surviving." His expression warmed. "So do I." The wind moved gently through the valley, no longer carrying fear, but something lighter. Elira reached for his hand again, this time without hesitation. "Then we do not run anymore," she said. "Oh," he agreed. "Stand." They stood there for a moment, side by side, the land quiet around them, the danger gone, at least for now. Elira looked out across the valley, then back at him. "You changed my destiny," she said. He shook his head slightly. "You changed it yourself." She smiled at that. "Maybe, but I am glad it led me here." "So am I," he said. The sun began to rise slowly at the edge of the horizon, soft light spreading across the land, touching the tree, the stone, and the path ahead. For the first time, the desert did not feel like a place to escape. It felt like a place to begin again. And as they walked forward together, no longer hunted, No longer alone, Alira realized that some choices did more than change a moment, they changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us and gives us the courage to create even more exciting stories. If this story touched your heart, your support helps me bring more heartfelt stories. Tell us in the comments how you liked the story and where you were watching from.